Hello and welcome back to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer this evening, Logan Landers. And joining me, as always, on Wednesdays, talking about these young NFL draft studs that are coming out in this 2021 NFL draft, is the man, you guys know him, y'all love him, the guy representing the 901, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner. How you doing this afternoon, Vince?
How you doing, Mr. Logan Landers?
Hey, doing phenomenal, Vince. Always love talking football with you on Wednesdays, talking about these young guys coming out of college, trying to make a name for themselves in the NFL. We're talking about Chazz Surratt today out of North Carolina. The young man has a heck of a story that we're going to be talking about here. And, man, not just the story, but he's got a lot of talent behind him as well. I'm looking forward to talking about it. But before we get started, Vince, be sure if you guys enjoyed this video today, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. As always, we appreciate all the love and support you guys have given us. Also, be sure to go check out our podcast as well, where these videos will be up shortly, and you can view them at your pleasure in your car, at work, wherever you enjoy your podcast. We are over there on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you listen to podcasts, we're over there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, watching our videos. It's an absolute pleasure, and we appreciate all the love and support. So, Vince, let's get on into it, buddy. Chazz Surratt, what do you like about the young man coming out of North Carolina?
Well, when you think about Mr. Surratt, I hope I got his name right. I think like this: athlete. Think about this story about this young man, Logan. Ooh, I'm feeling good this evening. The young man was in North Carolina and started out as a quarterback his first 2 seasons. Things didn't work out. They brought in a new coach, Mack Brown, and they made a position change. And Mack Brown said, hey, man, this is the best position for you, Mr. Surratt. Please help us out here. And Mr. Surratt said, hey, man, I'm trying to get to the NFL. And the bottom line, Mack Brown was able to convince this young man that, hey, this position here is going to turn you into magic. And think about this young man coming out of high school. He was an all-state quarterback in the state of North Carolina, but he was a 3-time all-state basketball player. So the guy is very athletic. So my grade report on this young man at the linebacker position, when you look at it as an inside linebacker, acceleration, A+, elite burst, A+, closing speed, A+, the ability to diagnose plays at the line of scrimmage, A+, work ethic. You see him working in the box, A+, sideline to sideline. This is very critical because all the great ones have done it, from Mike Singletary to Ray Lewis, A+, and play recognition, A+. All A+ for this young man. He's only played linebacker 2 seasons in college. Then I look at the most important part, the production. Think about this. In 2 seasons, the young man had 207 tackles, 12.5 sacks, 22 tackles for loss, 5 pass defense, and 2 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions. The young man is putting in work, as we say in the 901. And most of all, as a blitzer, he had 63 total pressures and 4 sacks in 2 seasons. And man, you talking about a special football player that's really never even learned a position yet. Then think about this. I'm going to go old school. When you're talking about athletes making a change from one position to another position, I'm going to go into the NFL. I think about Mr. Surratt in the terms of Bobby Bell that played for the Kansas City Chiefs. That was big, long, and very athletic, former basketball player. Then I'm going to go down the road to Michigan State. They had 2 great athletic linebackers. The one, George Webster, they played in 1966, along the lines of Bubba Smith, another long, lean guy. And the guy that followed him a couple years later, Brad Van Pelt, who was a very, very good football player. And I'm going to throw another name out there, Brian Urlacher, who was a safety at New Mexico. And I think he went to the Hall of Fame. Then another guy who made a transition, went to Clemson as a highly touted quarterback, ended up making the transition and playing some years in the league with Arizona Cardinals, Mr. Patrick Sapp. This guy right here, Mr. Surratt, kind of reminds me of all of them. All of them were great athletes that made that transition to linebacker. Then if you want to talk about him playing in North Carolina, he switched from quarterback to linebacker. And look what he had to stand up to the history of that linebacker position. Of course, a lot of people say the young man out of Williamsburg, Virginia is the greatest that ever played, Lawrence Taylor. Then another young man that followed him What was before him, Mr. Buddy Curry. Then another one gentleman that came along, Bruce Carter. Think about that and just let that sink in your head. He changed the quarterback position, went to linebacker, had to see all those names up there in Athletic Hall at Chapel Hill, and he had to really handle his business and carry the tradition. But my final thing about Chazz Surratt, it's all about game film. 2020, North Carolina State, 8 tackles. Virginia, 10 tackles. Wake Forest, 14 tackles. Notre Dame, 8 tackles. And the University of Miami, 10 tackles. Now, I'm going to say this. It's a lot of other linebackers out there that's getting a very high grade. Then Mr. Surratt and Michael Parsons, Nick Bolton. A lot of people talking about them, Savon Collins. But I'm telling you this right now. The young man that played at Chapel Hill that went from quarterback to linebacker, he's a special player. And I think when he gets to the next level, he's going to be a guy that we're going to talk about for the next 10 years.
Whew. Yeah, you certainly brought a Vincent. Hey, another thing about this guy that I like you say, he's only been playing the linebacker position for only 2 seasons. And he was a Butkus Award semifinalist. Semifinalist in only 2 years of really playing his position. We see guys training their whole lives at one position and they don't even get an award nomination. But this guy put in work in his 2 seasons, and he is a heck of a prospect, an insane athlete as well, to be able to go from quarterback to linebacker as well and fit in tremendously with that Tar Heels defense and show out like you did against all those great teams you listed and get all those tackles. And this guy is special. He really is. And like we always like to do here on Wednesdays, I like to give my 3 teams who I think might go after Mr. Chazz Surratt. So if you agree with my picks, tell me you agree. If you don't, if you want your team to get them, drop a comment. We always love to see the interaction here with our fan base. So my first team, Vince, who I think this will be the key pick, I think this would be a phenomenal pick, is the Buffalo Bills. The Bills were almost at the Super Bowl. They were knocking on the door. They weren't able to make it, unfortunately. Matt Milano, the key linebacker, he's up for free agency. He might not come back. We'll have to see. At the time of this recording, he's still a free agent. So if he doesn't come back, they're going to have to go get somebody, whether that be in free agency or in the draft with Mr. Chazz Surratt. I think he'd be looking good with the Buffalo Bills Mafia, too. The fans would love this guy. My second team that I have is the New York Giants. The Giants, they have a lot of young pieces on their team. They really do. And a lot of people think that they might be on the come up in the next season or two. I think that if Mr. Chazz Surratt goes to the New York Giants, that would be another good fit for him. He'd be with a lot of young guys on his team, and he'd fit in very well. And I think the fans of New York, where we all know the media is the roughest, I think he'd be able to handle it and be a star in the making. My third team and final team is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that black and yellow. Man, could you imagine him on that insane defense they got already over there in Pittsburgh? That would be they would be up for the top defense for the next 5 years, Vince, if he's able to get drafted over there, I think. Because they got a lot of talent on that Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and if they were able to just keep adding, man, they'll be dominating for years to come, I think. So those are my 3 teams. I've got the Buffalo Bills, the New York Giants, and finally the Pittsburgh Steelers is my 3 teams I think Mr. Chazz Surratt might go to. Like I said, if you guys think my picks are correct, drop in the comments. And if you think they're wrong, drop your team. I want to see what you think. And we appreciate all the love. So, Vincent, what are your final thoughts on Mr. Chazz Surratt?
Well, like I said, it's just a surprise, and then it's a blessing. This guy went from quarterback to inside linebacker and became a big-time player in 2 years. And he hasn't even really learned the position and really hit his scale and his ceiling yet. But what I love about him, this is the part and the stat that sticks out to me. The young man this year got 63 pressures on the quarterback and had 4 sacks. That means, man, he's getting to the quarterback. And all you have to say is that, hey, look at the game film. As I just mentioned, in all the tackles he had against some pretty good teams this season. And another thing I love about him, he graduated with a degree in sports administration with high honors. Just a total character guy, and a guy that sacrificed. came to college as a time quarterback, had aspirations of going in their draft, but he's not going in as a quarterback. He's going into a linebacker. And he's got all the great attributes that makes inside linebacker special. The sideline speed. And that's special. And I don't have to mention no more. Willie Lanier, Mike Singletary, the great Ray Lewis. Those guys can really get sideline. And this young man has got that type of skill set. And he's going to be special at the next level. And my final words, happy birthday to my mother and father down in the 901, Mr. Chester Turner and Mrs. Inez Turner. I love you and thank you for bringing me in this world 60 years ago. Y'all have a blessed evening. Take us home, Mr. Landers.
Let's do it, Vince. Yeah, once again, shout out to your parents. Happy birthday to Chester and Inez. We love y'all here on 100 Yards of Football. And hey, if you guys have enjoyed this video tonight, thank you guys so much for tuning in. First off, we're live, as always, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. But also, if you want to go listen to our podcast, just go over to Spotify. Just type in 100 Yards of Football. You'll see our logo there on the 50-yard line where you can go check out all of our old previous videos. Or you can check us out on Apple where we have all of our old game previews, draft profiles, legends interviews. We can do some basketball stuff as well. We got everything over there. Be sure to go check it out and leave us a nice review. We appreciate all the love and support y'all been giving us for a long time here over at the program. We love it so much. But hey, Vincent, thank you for coming on the show, man. It's always a pleasure having you on, talking some football with you, talking about some football. It is my pleasure to have you on here. And hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in to 100 Yards of Football. I've been your producer, Logan Landers, with my man, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner. We'll talk to you guys soon in just a little bit.